Thank you for listening to the Conformed to Christ podcast, where we seek to engage the mind, affect the heart, and call people to follow Christ. I'm Jay Jones. I'm here with George Mays for a Free for All Friday. We are back.
Here we are.
We're back after, it seems like we've missed a couple of weeks on Free for All Friday.
Well, we missed a free for all. Has it been two? It hasn't been two, has it?
I don't know.
It
seems like
I think it was one.
I was sick last week.
You were sick last week.
Yeah.
But we didn't have a text-driven Tuesday this week because Dave
preached for me. Yeah.
And he has employment on during the week, so we can't interview him, so we didn't have a text-driven Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
But here we are.
Yep.
We're back.
We are back.
It's about time you're not sick. I feel like you're sick all the time, Jay.
I don't know. It's keeps going through the house.
You're not taking your vitamins?
Yeah. It's like a really slow one. Evangeline got it.
Mm-hmm.
1 week later from that, Drake got it. 1 week later from him, I got it. Now 1 week later, Angie has it.
Oh, does she?
Yeah. Yeah, she's at home. Yeah. It's a stomach thing that's going around.
Mm.
Yeah. Yep. But I was here. I was ready to record, and I was like, guys, I can't do it. I got to go home.
Yeah.
And that's when I got sick. Yep.
I gotcha. Well, it happens.
It seems like we missed the Friday before that, too. I can't remember why. You know?
You asked us not to do it because you were still working on your sermon.
And the conference.
The
Christ-Centered Church's
That's
conference.
Right. Yep.
And then the snowstorm hit. And we didn't
That's
have a conference or anything.
That's right. We have missed two.
Man.
Yeah, we have.
Well, we're back.
Well, we've got several things to talk about today.
But before that, I got to ask you, did you see the breaking news that Biden got hospitalized?
No.
Yeah. Yeah. He's got some health issues. Yeah.
That's shocking.
I know.
That he's got.
Right, yeah.
No, I didn't see that.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. He's got some problems.
Wow.
Some health issues, yeah.
Hmm.
Apparently he can't stop Putin.
Oh my goodness.
That's dad level joke 5,000. I leveled up to my to my next form.
People have not. We just talked about how we haven't had this for 2 weeks, and people have been waiting. And this is what you do.
The reason it's good, George, is because it's so believable. Gets you at the beginning.
Yeah, it is.
You were totally not shocked when I told you.
No. I was like, oh no, yeah. I haven't. I was getting ready to look it up.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. See. Right.
Well, I was gonna breathe a sigh of relief because I'm sure that Kamala could stop.
Yeah, this is her chance. Yeah,
it's her time to shine.
Yeah.
Wow.
Maybe she'll laugh. She'll get at a meeting with him, and she'll just laugh like the Joker,
mm-hmm.
and he'll be like, "We're out, guys.
Oh man,
we're done.
This lady's crazy."
Yeah.
Yeah.
She got hit with that Joker gas. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, what are we going to talk about today, George?
I can't believe you got me with that. That's.
I know.
It
was. Yeah. Well, you know who got me with that? Angie. Angie got me with that. And I was like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Of course, I have to bring that on. So, well, let's talk about.
I'm so glad that you did. I feel like we've really benefited from that.
Yeah. And that is I mean, you gotta laugh about some things, but really what's going on is pretty sad. It's an understatement.
Yeah.
We've got friends of ours that are in Russia, and bad situation.
Yeah.
They're Russian church.
Yep.
Situation is bad on the ground. Did you know the SBC pulled all missionaries out of Russia?
Yeah.
Yep. So I think their main concern now is like not being able to fund them,
right?
And then they're just going to be over there.
Did any stay?
I don't think so, because they're your boss.
Right.
So it's like the boss tells you to leave, you leave. If you don't leave,
that's I think that's a weakness again to the IMB.
Yeah. Yeah, you could stay, but you probably no longer would be IMB.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, if they stay, they don't have a way to make money because
Right.
most of their money they make comes from being supported from people over here.
Right.
So that is a weakness, right? You're not, I'm going to speak about being a missionary, but if there's not a way to stay long term, if something like this happens, I mean, it's, we're just going to scrap all the work that's been done for however long in Russia. Like,
yeah,
it's a little risky though now too. I mean, the way they're treating Americans. They locked up that NBA player on some fallacious charges, apparently.
WNBA.
That's right. Yeah, they locked her up.
Let's get it right.
10 years, threatening her 10 years in prison for some. So I guess I can see they can see the writings on the wall.
Yeah,
it's really sad though because the actions we took, I feel like they are impacting just the regular Russian people.
Yeah.
I don't know that they're having that much of an effect on the rich people of Russia and like Putin and the oligarchs. Maybe now because they're starting to hit them individually with sanctions, but I mean, it's going to be economic collapse there. Just talking to them, they don't know. Like they're expecting hundreds of thousands of people in their town.
Yeah.
To lose their jobs. They run a Christian publishing house. They translate various books, good books, into Russian, and that's they think it's may shut down. So it's not good. I mean, we obviously think about the Ukrainian people. That's where we initially go, and rightly so. But you got a whole bunch of regular Russian people that don't agree with what's going on.
Yeah, I've been trying to remind people when it comes up that it's easy for us to take a side. Like here's the good guys and here's the bad guys, and what Putin is doing by invading another country is wrong. But the Ukrainian government isn't like this righteous. It's not like a bastion of liberty and
right
and godliness. I mean, the president of Ukraine is not someone that Christians should be celebrating.
Right.
I mean, he's for everything that the scriptures tell us not to be
right
for. So I try to remind people that this is the nation's raging.
Yep.
Like these are two wicked nations that are at war with each other, and the church gets caught in the middle of it.
Yeah.
And so we need to remember to pray for our brothers and sisters in Ukraine and in Russia because they're not the bad guys just because they're Russian. They're our brothers and sisters in Christ, and they're going to suffer. They're going to suffer because they've got wicked rulers who, I mean, who knows what Putin's end game is? I mean, even if he's successful in Ukraine, which hasn't been going that great,
right?
Even if he's successful, I don't know what his end game is.
Well, I think his stated end game it's been known for. I don't think he's been a secret about it for the past 20 years. He wants to rebuild the former power of that was lost when the Soviet Union collapsed.
Yeah.
So, he's a master propagandist. This is what people forget about him. That's why you can never know what's really true or what
Right.
are his motives. He may use, whatever. So I think that's one thing we need to keep in mind. And also part of that is you got a whole bunch of the Russian population. They may be Christians, and the only access they have to information may come from state-run media.
Right.
And so here's a scenario where you have two Christians on opposite sides of this thing. One of them does what any normal person, I think, would do who's born and raised in a country and have been provided security from it. They say, well, yeah, this is reasonable because what they're being told is one thing, right? They're being told that the culturally Russian people of Eastern Ukraine are being persecuted and I think even killed by the Ukrainians and stuff.
Right.
And so and Putin's like, I've got to go in and take these regions.
Right.
And so there are probably people there that believe that.
Well, it's hard to know what to believe. I mean, for the past 2 years, we've been, well, even longer than that. We've known that our news sources are biased and untrustworthy.
Right.
And then all of a sudden they start reporting on this, and everyone's like, "Oh, we believe everything that they say."
Right.
I mean, who knows? Who knows what is actually going on? And in the case of, like you said, the Russian media is going to be even worse because of the government there.
Yeah. If that's the only access you have, and I've heard that some that live in like the bigger cities, like maybe Moscow and St. Petersburg, they've got access to Western media, so they can get different narratives on things, and so they're able to question. But if you don't live in one of those areas, and all you get is a state-run media, you're going to believe 100% your side is right and justified in their action.
Yeah.
And you have to remember, like I said, he's came up through the KGB.
That's right.
His expertise is in like espionage and propaganda. So he's going to spin all these different stories.
Right.
And I think one they're doing now, which again seems totally believable because of what's happened over the past couple of years, is that there's all these biolabs. Have you seen that? That there are U.S. funded biolabs in Ukraine.
Yeah.
And so now he's saying, of course, well, I've got to go seize those biolabs to keep, something from getting out and ruining the world again.
Yeah.
And now China is even backing what they're saying, what the Russians are saying.
Oh, yeah.
But the reason, it may be totally made up.
Right.
It may not be, because we know now that we were funding research that shouldn't have been going on in Wuhan, right?
By the way, has anyone seen Fauci in a while?
No.
Like, where'd that guy go?
He's gone.
They just ghost him?
Yeah, he's gone now. He's going to retire. He'll
got
move
his 15 minutes of fame.
But you see that why it's believable.
Right.
Because what was going on in Wuhan, and now everybody knows it, and our money, our taxpayer dollars was going over there. And so it may not be true at all, and he might just be like, you know what, this is a good story and can totally be believable. I'm going to say it, and we'll push it out, and then eventually people will believe it because of what happened earlier. Yeah. And so there's no way to know. We don't have access to information. We don't know what's true, and the Ukrainians are engaged in propaganda.
Yeah.
That's 100% true. The Snake Island story was a lie. You know that? It was made up.
Right.
I think the ghost of Kiev, I think, was also found to be propaganda.
Well, the more I've read about the Ukrainian government, I mean, they suppress any anti-Ukraine speech. Like, it's not free speech over there. It's pretty tightly controlled by the government. So, again, Christians need to not be so quick to pick a side. Don't be gullible. Don't just jump on the media's narrative when it suits what you think is right. We don't believe them when it comes to COVID, but we'll believe everything they say when it comes to this. We need to remember that we are the citizens of a different kingdom, and we need to remember what the Bible tells us about the nations, that the nations are at war, not only with themselves, but they're at war with God. And so we need to remember that our true allegiance is to Christ and to his church over these nations.
So I had a question that came in. We'll talk about it. It might be interesting for people to kind of talk about, to hear us kind of walk through what we think about it. So the question is, I have to remember exactly how it goes. If you are a Ukrainian, like you're a Ukrainian-born citizen, and this happens, what do you do? Like, you're a man, right? Do you fight or do you leave? And then the question was, if you're a Russian-born citizen, what do you do? Do you fight, like you're in the army? Do you fight or do you leave? I think it's a good question. Worth.
Yeah. It's not an easy question to answer.
Right.
I don't think. And it's something that was pointed out. I don't remember where I first saw it, but this whole thing really flies in the face of what a lot of evangelical leaders were saying over the last 2 years about Romans 13 and submitting to the government.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the big EVA people were throwing out Romans 13 when it came to mask mandates and vaccine mandates and the government shutting down churches and all of that. And you gotta submit to the government, right? Putin is a governing official,
right?
Are all the Russians supposed to just submit to him using Romans 13?
Mm-hmm.
Like, we got to be a little bit more discerning about what Romans 13 is about,
right?
Than you just do what the governing officials tell you,
right?
So, so this is exposing some of those faulty interpretations of Romans 13 that were being pushed over here. But that is a hard question. I think on the one hand, for the Ukrainians, it's not wrong to fight for your country. They are being invaded
right.
by a foreign army. I don't think that I think it's a noble cause to stay and fight.
Mm-hmm.
Not sure where. I don't know exactly what I think about them conscripting people and forcing them to stay. I don't know what I think about that.
Yeah.
Or I'm not sure what the Bible would say to that. It seems like the Bible would be against conscription, because you look at Deuteronomy and the laws concerning warfare, and it says, if someone's afraid, let them go home. If they've just gotten married, let them go home.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems like they're not conscripted to fight. But I think if you choose to fight against an invading force, I think that's noble.
Yeah.
On the Russian side, I've got to think about like Christians in the Roman army.
Mm-hmm.
They were the invading force, right?
Yeah.
And I don't think anywhere in the New Testament it says, leave the Roman army, because they engage in.
Yeah, the world is much more complicated than like a lot of the evangelical elites would like to think that it is, that have never gone to a hard place in the world and never really seen how ugly the fall is, other than maybe, ministering to someone with terminal cancer or someone who died in a car crash. I get that. But war brings out the scenario where one Christian being a faithful Christian may be in a war against another Christian who's being a faithful Christian.
Yeah.
That doesn't seem right initially, but I think it is, and it could be right in this scenario, because I think it would be an immoral thing to not fight for your country, okay? Unless your country is doing something like crimes against humanity, and you know that. But the problem is you don't know that if you're just a soldier. Like, say I'm just a regular Ukrainian born. I'm 22 years old. I've lived, been raised, been provided for by the country. The country calls, they need men, and you say no. I think that's immoral. I think it's wrong. You fight for your country. It's what's right to do. But on the flip side, if you're a Russian, Russian army sends you in, you don't know all the intricacies of what's going on in these issues between these nations.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the one thing that you do know, so the first I would say is you fight. That was the answer I gave to my friend who texted. You fight for your country, whatever that is. It's Ukraine, it's Russia, until they start saying and making you do things like kill civilians.
Mm-hmm.
If they tell you, to kill civilians, I think you have the moral responsibility to object. Like we have part of our oath is that we obey orders, but you may disobey orders if they're unlawful or immoral.
Okay, so here, let me put a little spin on that. You've got Zelensky saying we'll give guns to anybody who wants to fight. So you've got civilians who
Right.
they're not in uniform. They're not marching. They're just at their house. You know, they live in an apartment complex. And we'll defend this from the Russians. As a Russian soldier, what do you do? What do you do there? Because they are civilians. You are the invading force. They're just trying to defend their home. Right. What do you think there?
I think if they were going to be moral, what they would do is they would drop pamphlets and they would say, if you're a male and fighting age and have a weapon, you're going to be assumed to be an enemy and be killed.
What about the old lady that I saw?
Well, I mean, if she's going to shoot, if she's going to fight, she's made herself a combatant.
Okay.
But there are reports that they're killing actual unarmed civilians.
Yeah.
That's where I think it's their responsibility. And if enough of them did it, it would stop. Like if they said, no, we're not going to do it, and the officer said, we're not going to do it. And then,
which again, is that propaganda?
Right.
Like, are they actually doing that, or is that propaganda?
You have no way to know.
Right.
In some ways, this is the first war that's been fought in like the cell phone age. Because, when we went over there, I didn't have a cell phone. No one had a cell phone. iPhone came out after I returned from Iraq.
Okay. So
we'd like take pictures on our little cameras that you like turn the thing on. You know what I'm talking about? You remember those? So propaganda is so easy to create now.
Right.
So you don't know what is real, what is not real.
Right.
So yeah, it's a complicated situation, but I think that's the answer is it would be very odd and weird to me for your country to need you and you say no. You know what I mean? You think about the Romans, right? Like you said.
Right.
Like Jesus interacted with Roman centurions, and he didn't tell them, "Hey guys, you're part of an immoral fighting force.
Right.
Let's get this fixed first. You need to renounce your. You need to go AWOL and leave the Roman army. Then I'll help you out.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen.
I get what you're saying. You're going to have probably a different perspective than I do. Having served, I don't have any of that background. I am thinking about Deuteronomy chapter 20 and trying to think through, because Israel would go to war, and there's allowances for people not to fight, for men of fighting age not to fight. Yeah. So I don't know if I'd say it's immoral. Yeah. Because that would be saying it's immoral because there's allowances here for guys who have just gotten married.
Right.
We just had a guy in our church get married, and he's going to deploy. Yeah. If we were to follow this, he wouldn't deploy for a year.
Right.
So I don't know. Still thinking through it. And I'm just not. I don't think I'd go as far to say it's immoral not to fight for your country.
Yeah.
Now, if you, I don't know. I'm still working through it.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that's the answer that I give is.
But I don't think it's wrong. I don't think it's wrong. I don't think it's immoral to fight for your country.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah. Both sides.
The problem,
if you're in the Russian army, like you said,
well, the problem
you do what your commander tells you to do.
The problem is that we as Westerners go, well, no one should fight for Russia's army because we have all this information right about them.
Right.
They don't have any of that. Mm-hmm. They don't have any of that information.
Yeah.
So you can't stand here like in a place of judgment over them and say all the Russians and the Russian army are moral people.
Right.
Mm-hmm. They don't have information. Most of them didn't even know what they were doing when they went there.
Yeah.
Now they do.
Yeah.
So now that becomes something different, Like I said, if they're told to fire on unarmed civilians, I think they have a responsibility. Even if that means they're tried for treason for doing so. I think that's their responsibility.
Yeah.
To say no.
Mm. It's complex.
Yeah.
It's not just black and white like a lot of people are making it out to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, it's not. It's the world is not that way, man. I mean, World War II, You have it's the terrible thing of the fall, of how terrible the world has been broken by the fall.
Yeah.
Is I mean, even in World War II, we can look at the Nazis and say, obviously they're war criminals, they're terrible people, they're evil, but
you've got just
you have
an average soldier in the German army,
and you have Christians in that army,
right?
And they're fighting for Germany.
Yeah.
And I don't mean like fake Christians. I mean like real Christians. They're fighting against real Christians on our side in World War II.
Yeah.
The clock, you seen the clock in my house, in my entryway? There's a German clock, grandfather clock in my entryway. It survived World War I and World War II. So my parents were stationed over there in Germany, and they would go to this guy. This is what he does for a living. He like restores and works on these really old German clocks. And so anyway, we're in there, and my parents got to know him a little bit, I guess. And so one of the things he said is the Nazis came to, or not the Nazis, the German military conscriptors. We know them as Nazis now, but
right.
World War II, they came, and he and his friends, they were 12 years old, they ran from them into the woods to get away, and they got caught. So he served in World War II. And are we to look at that guy and say, oh, you're an evil Nazi?
Right. Yeah.
We don't know what he did in World War II, but the world is much more complex than we think it is.
Yeah, one of the kids in my the homeschool program, the class that I tutor, they had to write some history research papers, and he wrote a paper on a German soldier who actually hid Jews. Like he was a soldier in the Nazi army, but he was hiding Jews.
Yeah.
Like, are we going to condemn him because he's got a swastika on his arm? I mean, he's doing the best he can.
Right.
Right. In a hard, impossible situation. Yeah.
But if he openly speaks out, they just eliminate him.
Yeah.
He's just done.
So yeah. All right. Well, you got anything else you want to say about that?
You just need to, I think just to remember, I think it's good that we're like going through Habakkuk. This is what's good to remember, is that these things aren't just happening by accident.
Yeah.
God's in control of these things. And that's difficult for us to grapple with because all of this is intermingled with the problem of evil and suffering. But the nations are raging against God.
Yep.
And yet at the same time, he's sovereign over everything that's happening.
Right.
And history is being pulled along to a conclusion. We are not able to see yet now what God is doing with that stuff, but there are faithful Christians both in Ukraine and in Russia. And what I've heard now is that people in Russia are more ready now than ever to hear the gospel because of how tumultuous things are. And so they're ready to hear the gospel.
Yeah.
Their hearts are softened because of...
So God uses evil to accomplish good.
Yeah. And so, I mean, we need to remember those people. We get hit at the gas tank, right? And that hurts. But you got people over there wondering, is the Iron Curtain coming back? Is the internet going to get shut off and it's going to become an intranet now?
Right.
Am I going to be cut off from the entire... Because, one of the people we talked to over there, he grew up like that, when it was the USSR. And it was like, us versus them and everything.
Yeah.
Like, the hockey matches. But there was an Iron Curtain there, and they were cut off from the world. And the fear is it's coming back.
Yeah.
And they can do it like that.
Right.
And they have that ability. Well, so while we're stressing about our gas, remember to have some sympathy and remember that there are Christian churches over there wondering if they're even going to be able to keep going.
Right.
In both Ukraine and in Russia.
Well, I'm glad you brought up gas prices, Jay, because we've got some experts that have been weighing in on the fuel prices. Got one that we can pull up on the screen from George Takei. You might know
This
him.
is a
you might know him
Star
as
Trek,
Sulu. Yeah.
Star Trek guy.
Yeah. Americans We can endure higher prices for food and gas if it means putting the screws to Putin. Consider it a patriotic donation in the fight for freedom over tyranny.
Okay.
I like the first response there down there at the bottom. Millionaires telling the poors that quietly enduring inflation is patriotic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now we're for fighting tyranny.
Yeah.
We've been cozied up to China in every capacity. You know what I mean?
I got another clip. We got our friend Stephen Colbert. He's weighing in on it.
Yeah. These guys over there they've been paying $4 for gas forever.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're paying like $6 in California.
Right.
They don't care though. That's nothing to them, George.
High 6.
That's nothing.
Like almost like pushing 7. I don't know if I would have said
They're
that.
so clueless. These people have never been in a part of country like where we live.
Yeah.
Where you drive. I drive 12 miles roughly to work every day.
Yeah.
And there's no bus routes.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
And I guess I could ride a bike 24 miles a day, but sometimes the wind would blow me off the road.
Get stung by another one of those, those tarantula wasps.
But there are people, that live even further out, more rural, and there's nothing around. They got to drive. They've got to drive to get milk 15, 20 miles. Mm-hmm. They're farmers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
These people are clueless to the rest of the country.
Yeah, for him to say, hey, I'll pay $15 a gallon because I drive a Tesla. Well, that's...
Is there even a Tesla charging station in this town? I don't think there is, man. I don't think there's an EV charging station around here. You got to charge it in your house.
I've seen a couple of Teslas around.
Where does electricity come from,
They're
George?
getting them charged somewhere, but...
Where does electricity come from, though, George?
Right. It's
magically?
free. It's just magic. It falls from the sky.
Very, very little of it comes from wind.
Mm-hmm.
We've got wind around here.
Yeah.
But a lot of it comes from coal because we don't like nuclear, because of whatever. It's stupid. We should be doing nuclear everywhere.
Yeah.
Electricity has to be made. It's not magic. We don't pull it out of the atmosphere. Nikola Tesla did not accomplish his, dream of pulling energy just out of the atmosphere.
Right.
So your electric vehicle, the electricity in it probably is powered by fossil fuels somewhere down the line.
Yeah.
And there's a limited amount of lithium in the earth. So what happens when that runs out? And by the way, that stuff's dug up by child slaves, as we now know, right? So clean conscience. How's your clean conscience when you got some 4-year-old kid who's starving to death? He's digging up the lithium for your battery.
Right.
Enjoy your clean conscience, right?
Yeah.
It's insane. It's preposterous.
Right. Then our transportation secretary, Buttigieg, saying that the answer to high gas prices is for people to buy electric vehicles.
Yeah. Why don't you just get one, George?
Just buy one.
Just go buy one.
Just buy one while you're drinking your margarita and going to yoga.
I think I'm just going to buy one today.
Isn't that what the press secretary said? Yeah, they're just completely. I saw something last week. I think that this administration hates poor people.
Yeah,
and they just show it all the time because they don't. They're just completely disconnected. They have no idea what the average American goes through and what the average American can afford. And so they say things like, buy an electric vehicle.
Yeah. And the Putin thing, obviously that influenced it some, but let's not be foolish.
Yeah.
Right. They're seizing upon that to cover up their failure.
Yeah.
Because the price of everything was skyrocketing. Mm-hmm. Inflation was up big time over the past year and a half. And gas was going up before he invaded.
Yeah.
Even before there were discussions of him possibly even going in, gas was still going up.
Well, they talk out of both sides of their mouth because they say that the rising cost is because of what Putin is doing.
Uh-huh.
At the same time, they say, well, Russian oil is only 10%
right.
of what we import.
Right.
So, okay, which one is it?
Right.
Is it so important that it's making the cost skyrocket, or is it so little that it's not that much?
Right.
So they don't know. They don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
But it's a shame because we're just sitting on top of all this.
We're about to pay my family. I would guess we're going to end up paying about $250 to $300 more in gas a month now.
Yeah.
Because we drive a lot. We drive to baseball games. We drive to softball games.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Guess I'll have to figure out how to find an extra $250, $300. They have no clue about that, though. That just rains money on Stephen Colbert.
You're going to have to start a YouTube channel, you playing Elden Ring.
Charge a subscription. What are you doing playing? Angie, like, what? Why are you playing Elden Ring all night long? It's my second job, baby. Just doing it for the family.
Yeah.
I hate it. Got to do it for the family.
That's right. It's rough.
Yeah.
Well, I've been holding on to this for 2 weeks, Jay.
No.
I've been dying to talk about this.
Oh no!
And we just haven't had a free for all. So this came out 2 weeks ago from FEMA. I haven't seen a whole lot about it. I've seen a couple of people talk about it, but not as many as I was expecting. So FEMA, this is from ready.gov/nuclear explosion.
Oh my goodness.
So there's been Putin he's given veiled threats. If the West interferes, they'll face consequences like they've never seen before. And so the question is,
that's all he's got because let's be honest, man, their military is garbage.
Yeah. Obviously,
it's hot garbage.
we
would roll in a regular war, in a regular high intensity conflict. We would roll them.
It's funny because in
less than a week.
What 8 months ago, we looked at the propaganda or the recruiting commercial, Russian recruitment commercial, in comparison with the American one, and they've got these guys that are going through rigorous training, and it's all about fighting and winning this war. And then the American one is a cartoon about a girl with 2 moms. Yeah. Right. And then when Russia actually rolls out,
they roll out. They got those hard dudes. They're stuck in a 40-mile convoy. Yeah. While we could send in the girl with 2 moms. She could fly a Predator in from Utah, decimate that whole column of tanks, and then go drink a latte afterward.
Right.
They don't want that smoke, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
But that's why he's got to threaten.
Right.
I got nukes.
Yeah. So
you'll pay a high price.
So the question has been coming up. People have been thinking about what happens if there's a nuclear explosion. So our government is here to help, Jay. So FEMA has put out this page. You can go to it, and you can find some information about what to do in case there is a nuclear explosion. Now, of course, if you're within the blast radius, you're just going to die. But this is for nuclear fallout. All right, what do you do if there's an explosion close to you, but not close enough that you're in the blast radius? You're outside of it, but what about nuclear fallout? And so this website gives some advice. Get inside, go to the nearest building, avoid radiation, stay inside, bring your pets inside, all of this. All right.
Take 800 milligrams ibuprofen. Call it good.
Stay inside until you're told that it's safe to come outside, because the fallout it falls, and once it's out of the air, the authorities will tell you it's safe to come outside. But some things caught.
So you like duct tape up your cracks in your doors?
I guess so. Yeah.
Turn off your air conditioner.
Okay, so some of this is good advice, but there were some things that caught people's eyes as they were perusing this. So I've got this pulled up right in the middle. It says, go to the basement or middle of the building. Stay away from the outer walls and roof. All right, that's good advice.
Okay.
You don't want to be outside. You don't want to be exposed. You don't want your skin to come into contact with, radioactive material. Try to maintain a distance of at least 6 feet between yourself and people who are not part of your household.
What? They snuck in some COVID.
If possible,
COVID regulations.
if possible, wear a mask if you're sheltering with people who are not a part of your household. This is get inside. The next step is stay inside. All right, stay inside for 24 hours unless local authorities provide other instructions. All right, that's good advice. Continue to practice social distancing by wearing a mask and by keeping a distance of at least 6 feet between yourself and people who are not part of your household.
Oh, I'm sure everyone's that's what's going to be on their mind.
Uh-huh.
Nuclear bomb goes off. Guys, no hugs. Stay on your side of the room till this is complete.
Yeah.
Till this has completed its course.
I know we're about to die, but stay away from me because you might have COVID. All right, it gets better. It gets increasingly better as we go along. So that's kind of a veiled reference.
Okay.
That's just become part of our language, staying 6 feet away, even though we know now that it was just an arbitrary number. Like there's nothing magical about 6 feet.
Uh-huh.
Right. So stay tuned. So while you're hunkered down, stay tuned for updated instructions from emergency response officials. If advised to evacuate, listen for information about routes, shelters, and procedures. All right, so that's good. If you have evacuated, do not return until you are told it is safe to do so by local officials. All right. Make plans to stay with friends or family in case of evacuation. Keep in mind that public shelter locations may have changed due to COVID-19. All right, well, you can't just ignore the fact that a lot of stuff has changed. All right, but here we go. If you are told by authorities to evacuate to a public shelter, try to bring items that can help protect yourself and your family from COVID-19, such as hand sanitizer that contains at least 60% alcohol, cleaning materials, and 2 masks per children. So the sirens are going off, right?
Mm-hmm.
Incoming.
A flash in the sky. Grab the masks.
Make sure to grab your Clorox wipes.
Yeah. Grab the mask and the Clorox wipes. Crazy.
Yeah. So what's funny is that there's no bring food.
Right.
Bring bedding, bring clothes, nothing like that.
Bottled water.
Stuff that will actually keep you alive during this. Bring your hand sanitizer. Make sure you grab your Purell.
So
All right, but this last page is my favorite. I was sitting in my office, door closed, no one around when I read this, and I laughed out loud because I thought it was so funny. I'll try to get through it, Jay. All right. If you are sick or injured, listen for instructions on how and where to get medical attention when authorities tell you it is safe to exit. If you are sick and need medical attention, contact your healthcare provider for instructions. If you are at a public shelter, immediately notify the staff at that facility so that they can call a local hospital or clinic. If you are experiencing a medical emergency, call 911. All right, so all of this it makes sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
Call 911 and let the operator know if you have or think you might have COVID-19.
Oh,
if you can, put on a mask before help arrives.
Good night, dude.
This is the best part, Jay. Hands down. This is a government website, Jay. All right, your taxpayer money is going to stuff like this. Remember, this is nuclear war, right? Engage virtually with your community through video and phone calls because, Internet's probably still up. It's
right.
We're in the 21st century.
Yeah,
It's all right.
yeah.
Know that it's normal to feel anxious or stressed. Take care of your body and talk to someone if you are feeling upset. Many people may already feel fear and anxiety about the coronavirus 2019. The threat of a nuclear explosion can add additional stress.
What? The threat of a nuclear explosion could cause additional stress.
Yeah, you're already stressed out from COVID. And then on top of that is nuclear war.
This is crazy.
Yeah. It's all right if you're feeling stressed about COVID-19.
Who types that out and then gets it approved by the
I don't
supervisor?
know. Who knows? Someone's like, people are already feeling stressed about COVID, and now there's nuclear war.
The nukes are falling, and I love how they assume like things are still going to be working, like call 911.
Right.
You think that ain't happening?
Yeah.
Dispatcher's getting in the truck and heading for Denver. We're all headed to the mountains.
Yeah.
It's going to be pure chaos. Crazy, man.
I thought that was funny that even now, even though, Putin has cured COVID, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, are you hearing about COVID on the news?
No.
Like, it's all Ukraine. But even now, with the numbers going down, and the new strains that are not as serious, they still want you to be so freaked out about it that even when they're talking about nuclear fallout and the things to prepare for it, COVID-19 is just everywhere.
Yeah.
Like they want you to remember to stay 6 feet apart from people and to wear a mask and bring your hand sanitizer. And I'm sure there's still people doing it. I'm sure.
Crazy, dude. Whoever did
just
it.
Putting the threat of nuclear explosion and COVID-19 in the same paragraph, talking about stress, just shows how bonkers we've all become.
Yeah.
Like on the list of things that I'm worried about, COVID-19 is real low on it.
Right. Yeah. I don't think COVID would go bye-bye for everyone immediately.
I'm surprised
if there was a nuclear.
I'm surprised they didn't throw anything in about vaccines. Make sure you're vaccinated. The best way to prepare for a nuclear explosion
is to get vaccinated beforehand. Yeah.
I'm surprised that they didn't throw something in there.
Yeah. They forget a part. It's like it all is gone. Like, hey, a bomb went off in Oklahoma City. The wind blew south that day, and we all die of nuclear fallout.
Right.
But we're vaccinated.
But COVID didn't get us.
And while we were counting down our final hours, we waved at each other from across the living room. We did our part to stop the COVID outbreak.
Yeah. I'm sure as people are dying from radiation sickness, they're thinking, I'm glad I spent the last year and a half in my house away from everybody.
Yeah, crazy.
Did you hear that there are like hundreds of millions of doses of the vaccine that just aren't being used?
No, I didn't know about that.
Yeah.
They just overproduced.
Government bought everything, I guess, and there's people that
they don't last either.
No, they'll just throw them out. So
yeah,
so that's government efficiency, I guess.
Yep, that's right. Wow, George, I don't know that we can go anywhere else from there, man. That's like,
I mean, I've got other stuff, but I don't know. That's kind of the mountain peak for me.
Yeah, COVID and nuclear fallout.
Yeah,
man.
I think that I mean, we aren't the first generation that's had the fear of nuclear explosions.
Right.
I mean, we're not the Cold War generation. We came in at the
end of it.
Tail end of it.
I saw the Berlin Wall, though. Did you know that?
Oh, did you?
A little info for you. Yeah, we were stationed in Germany.
Okay.
I was in elementary school, kindergarten through third grade, I believe, in Germany. And little did I know what we were there for, George. It's not till you grow up, right, that you find out that there's this gap. I think it's called the Folge Gap. And that's where my dad was in the Army. That's where they all train because what was going to happen was Russia was going to invade, and we were going to be the speed bump.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, there's no stopping, right, the full invasion. We're just a speed bump.
Right.
But I didn't know that till I was later. I was just living there, oblivious, enjoying my life as a little kid.
Right.
Unaware that right across, the Berlin Wall was the Red Army.
Right.
But we went across once. I remember it was really weird, man. Like I remember, like, because my parents were like pretty on edge and alert about everything. Like where we go into Eastern Berlin, so that's communist country, and you can go in.
Was it a utopia?
On a special pass.
Was it a utopia like we're told communism is going to bring in? It's going to bring in just flourishing and everything's going to be sunshine?
Even as a little kid, I could recognize, like, we go in there, like, this place is, like, sterile and poor.
Right.
Like, compared to West Germany. But someone ran up to us. I remember this, and they had a map. And they wanted us to point on the map where we were from, and my parents were like freaked out, like we thought we were getting in trouble because someone had a map and like a civilian ran over to talk to us.
Oh yeah,
from Oklahoma, and I remember that. That was interesting. Then the Berlin Wall came down, like maybe a couple years later.
Okay,
but I got a little piece of it somewhere, a little piece of the Berlin Wall.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah,
yeah, I think, but we're living in times that we're not. Used to. But as Christians, we don't have to be afraid. Even if nuclear war were to come, God is still sovereign. He's still in control. We don't have to worry about these things. This is not something that should keep a Christian awake at night. We're not in control. Like, we can't control what Vladimir Putin is going to do. We can't control what Biden is going to do. All of these things are far beyond our control. We can hope and pray for all kinds of better times, but that's outside of our control. But it's not outside of God's. God is sovereign, and so we can be faithful. We can trust. We can remember the promises of God, that Christ is going to return. He's going to have victory, and all of his people are going to be safe.
Yeah.
And so I haven't run into anybody that's, freaking out over nuclear explosions. But, we live in troubling times.
Yeah.
You don't control the gas prices.
Yeah.
Right. You are not in control of the cost of food. God's in control, and we can trust him.
Yep. That's right, George. That's right.
And just a little note, Russia is not Rosh from Ezekiel 38 and 39.
Yeah.
So for any of my dispensational listeners.
There have been some. We could have had a whole segment on the stuff I've seen some pastors posting about.
Yeah.
Like preparing for the end time and whatever.
Yeah.
Man, can you even imagine if they're saying that now, what they would have said at the height of Soviet power?
I can imagine. I mean, I read Hal Lindsey's late great Planet Earth and what was he had a sequel. I can't remember what it was. Anyway, all of that dispensational eschatology that was just reading the newspaper and trying to plug things in. Yeah. And people have been doing that for
doesn't really seem to
2,000 years. Yeah. But that's not if you are reading a translation that has the word Rosh.
Yeah.
That does not mean Russia.
Just because Russia's from the north of Israel,
right,
doesn't mean that. Like, there's a reason the north is used, and that's because that's the place the invading armies come from.
Yeah, the prophets would talk about Babylon coming from the north.
Right.
Well, if you know your geography, you know Babylon was in the east. But you don't walk across the desert to invade Israel.
Yeah.
You go north.
You go around the desert and down south.
Right. Yeah. So all the invading forces would come from the north, because to the east is just a big desert. That's not good strategy.
Right.
Yeah, but Rosh just means prince. It doesn't. It's not some secret code word for Russia.
Yeah.
So I thought I'd throw that in there, Jay.
Yep.
I gotta take my digs at dispensationalism.
They
whenever
go.
I can.
All right. Let's probably shut this down.
All right.
Thanks for listening today to the Conformed to Christ podcast. If it's been a blessing to you, hope it has. Please like, subscribe, share, maybe write us a review. It's our hope, as always, that this has been a little entertaining, but also help you to think through things from a Christian perspective and be more conformed to Christ. We'll see you next time.